Hi, my name is Thomas Tuchel.
Thomas Tuchel is considered one of the best managers from Germany and one of the best managers in Europe. He's worked with some of the richest clubs in the world and some of the best players in football. But he has always seemed to cause problems at clubs with either staff and players. So, is Thomas Tuchel a difficult manager to work with? Tuchel is often described as a flexible and adaptable manager who's able to work well with some of the best players on the planet. He even said that you shouldn't coach the best players like you would a youth player, but listen to them and give them what they need on the pitch to succeed. Players that won a lot under him, like Ben Chilwell at Chelsea, said he was unbelievable and that they know they could not get a better manager at the club after they won the Champions League. All of this sounds great, and maybe he is misunderstood as a manager, but he's also had a lot of trouble with fellow staff or players wherever he's been. Thomas retired early from professional football and went to work for the famous German youth academy at Stuttgart. 3 years later, he returned to his former club Augsburg, where he coached the same under-19 teams he had previously played for. It wasn't until moving to Mainz that he got a chance to start his professional managerial career in the 2009-10 season. While Mainz sits as his previous record for total matches as manager for one club, Tuchel didn't part ways with the club in the best manner. He asked to quit due to not being able to move the team forward despite having a year left on his contract. Criticising the team and the club for not reaching their potential and not seeing how he could take them any further can be an insult to players and staff. Strangely, he didn't have another club to go to and ended up taking a year off instead of seeing out his final year of his contract. Just in terms of professionalism, this would put Mainz in a difficult situation. It would have been normal if he'd just joined Dortmund immediately, as Mainz would have been compensated for the last year of his contract. There didn't seem to be a real reason for leaving, and he could have burned one of the first bridges made in his career. The Krumbach native ended up as the manager of German giants Borussia Dortmund, but not until a full season had passed without work. Once at the helm, he'd only coached the team for just over 100 games before signs of unrest began to emerge. It seemed like it stemmed from a toxic working relationship with the management structure above him. This could have been because of some transfer disputes, but there seemed to be a general lack of respect being shown to the club's board by Tuchel. Dortmund CEO Watzke went as far to say that the club officials had just become worn out with his behaviour. This wasn't helped by results, but Thomas had shown the team could be a force under his management, and that he had the potential to disrupt Bayern Munich's dominance. He was even sacked 3 days after Dortmund had won their first trophy in 5 years, which shows there must have been real problems. Again, and something that should have been more and more worrying at this point, Tuchel took another season away from coaching after being sacked from Dortmund. After time without coaching, he still managed to get a job at the pinnacle of European football with Paris Saint-Germain, where he'd be coaching superstar players like Neymar, Mbappé and Thiago Silva.
Merci pour votre présence aujourd'hui. Je suis très heureux d'être ici comme entraîneur de ce club exceptionnel.
Despite the amount of success and ease that he could have enjoyed with these players, Thomas did not last much longer than his last club, and he left after 127 games. PSG owner Nasser Al-Khelaifi said it was not a surprise that he was fired, and there were further rumours of a larger conflict with sports director Leonardo. The two had criticised each other publicly, with the German highlighting issues with recruitment, especially that they were buying players that were not needed. Doing anything publicly like this is not advised, as it can impact a club's ability to act freely and uninfluenced in the transfer market.
Vous montrez-moi une équipe qui joue chaque match 4 et 5 buts, c'est pas possible. Mais pour moi, c'est clair que vous trouvez toujours un point. On cherche le négatif.
Also, PSG were determined to win the Champions League during this period, and Thomas had just taken them all the way to the final the year before. This shows that despite the success, instead of backing the manager, the off-pitch situation was just impossible to ignore. After the PSG job finished, Tuchel wasn't out of a job as long as prior sackings, as London club Chelsea needed a new manager in January 2021. He went on to have a fantastic year, making an immediate impact on the second half of the season. Losing only a few games in the league, Chelsea pushed for a treble until falling off towards the end of the season. They lost in the final of the FA Cup, but managed to beat Manchester City 1-0 in the final of the Champions League to cap off a superb start to his Chelsea career. Despite that, Tuchel didn't make it past his 100th game for Chelsea before he was fired for reaching an untenable relationship with club owner Todd Boehly.
And what's your day-to-day relationship with Todd Boehly, for example? How does that work?
Very communicative.
Rumours of off-field issues and players losing respect for him could have been a smokescreen, but public unrest with the owner became too much and he was sacked after a poor result in the Champions League. Again, another incredible trophy win was not enough to keep Thomas in his job.
You need to show different mentality. It's not enough at the moment.
Tuchel had a bit of time off before he got his next coaching role. He managed to land the premier job in Germany at Bayern Munich, with many high-flying, high-profile players that had been at the club for a long period. Bayern didn't seem worried about his previous record of causing unrest, as the club considers themselves too big to be manipulated, and that they can control their manager's behaviour. To be fair to the German manager, he's had to adapt to 3 different league styles of play and many numbers of high-profile players in a short space of time. He's also had to deal with eccentric foreign owners who all run their clubs differently and often overstep their role. Chelsea owner Boehly was known for getting involved in dealings for players and the direction of football at the club, which directly undermines the managers who should be in charge of football decisions on the pitch. Player power is also a key factor, as the salaries of players are so high and their importance as assets take precedence over a manager's value and contract situation. These issues add stress to a manager's day-to-day job, as he was often asked to confront these issues in the media, which could have been seen as a major distraction. Sure, Tuchel has had to deal with some strange environments, but given his quick turnover at clubs, situations in which he left and time off in between jobs, it doesn't look good for his reputation. Questions about his difficult nature are compounded by how well he actually does at the helm, with an average of over 2 points per match at his last 4 clubs. He may deserve to have his demands listened to more, but just how bad must the relationship be with players and staff if his impressive win percentage doesn't keep him in charge for longer? Player power and eccentric owners do make all managers' jobs more difficult, and head coach turnover is at a historically high rate, but Tuchel does seem to be a singular manager in just how common public outbursts and relationship breakdowns have been over his career. Just how many more teams are going to put up with his antics if his behaviour continues? Surely, continuing to burn bridges will finally catch up with Tuchel, and it seems safe to say that he appears to be a very difficult manager to work with.